every week. There's a lot of negativity in the world. The news tends to terrify rather than clarify. So who has a tell me something good? Now I'm going to call on you. All right, Jason, tell me something good.
I have my biggest listing appointment tonight of my career. So.
Boom. What is it? How much?
Probably like 1.7.
Oh, round of applause. And how did you get this massive listing appointment?
Open house.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Any tips for people who want to get another big listing appointment? What was the house you met? What was the price point?
$1 million.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you want $1 million clients, we'll do $1 million openings.
I got one.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you got, Aaron?
One of my 21-year-olds on my team did an open house 2 weeks ago, $1.4 million listing, and was in escrow the following day.
Wow. There you go. Round of applause, guys. Luis says he got a Google pay-per-click lead flying in from Kansas tomorrow, eager to get in contract. Boom, and he said he isn't leaving Sacramento without being in escrow. So round of applause for you, Mr. Luis. And the sound is really low. Does that help, Diana? Hopefully that helps. All right, so we got the man in the room. We got, like I said, we have a jam-packed day. Really quick, JJ, what's happening in the wonderful world of lending? Go ahead and stand up.
Yeah. So hey guys, really quick. I wanted to share something with you, and the thing I wanted to share with you was about energy. Do you know that energy is a currency? Do you know it's more valuable currency than time itself? Time is a valuable currency. If I gave you $10 million a day and I told you you're going to die at the end of the day, you probably wouldn't take the 10 million, right? Because you're not going to be able to do anything with it. So energy is even more valuable, because if you live in this world and there was no energy, what would be the point of living here? If you just sat in your butt all day long, what's the point? More drinks than anything else other than alcohol and some of those soft serve energy drinks. Why is that? Because we don't have enough energy going on in this world right now. We need help to get our energy. So where do we get our energy from? When I get home every single night, my daughters are so excited to see me. Daddy, I'm so excited. I want to be with you right now. I want to go ride my bike. I want to do this. I want to do that. Why can't we be like that with our clients? Why can't we be like that and show them how much energy we have for them? That's our duty as lenders and real estate agents, to give them the best possible service that we can lend. I guarantee you that Jason didn't get that listing by having no energy. He was there going and doing everything he could to make sure that that person knew that he was energetic to help them get to that. So basically, my goal for you today is to take away from here to just go out in the world, give your clients what they deserve, give them the energy that they need and they want from you. One last thing in terms of lending wise, we had a client come in a couple weeks ago. Then the lender or the real estate agent said, "Hey, I want to send you somebody. I'm sorry I didn't do it at first, but hey, here they are now." Okay, great. What do we need? FHA loan. Can't get the deal done. They bought a new car. Okay, well, shoot. How are we going to qualify that? So we took the loan in. The lender says it's dead. We end up saying, okay, well, let's take this and see what else we can do. Let's change the loan program from an FHA loan to a down payment assistance loan. Let's bring them, as they don't have a down payment anymore. Now the down payment they were going to be using for that is going to go to pay off that car they just bought. Now they can qualify. The lender didn't take the time and the energy to put that into the transaction. If you have a client that's having trouble purchasing a home today, make sure you're not giving up on that client. Don't give up on them, because they're more than likely there is something that we can do. So contact another lender, try and make sure that you give them the right that they deserve to go buy that home. Anyways,
how do we get a hold of you, JJ?
Yes, so cell phone's best, text or call. You can call me directly at 916-390-2463.
2463. Got it. All right, round of applause for Mr. JJ. What do we got?
Yeah, great announcement. In fact, they're on the Zoom. We just had some of the top agents in Arizona in the Scottsdale area, actually Sunset West, Kevin and Annette Bergler, who are on Zoom, and Marvin and Tay Peterson, the Peterson team, and they just dominate that area. and they're very excited to join us, and they just brand new with our team. So
Wow. All right, well, we will skip upcoming events because I don't need to tell you that we have, Brent's gonna be speaking not only today, but also next week. He's gonna be speaking here live and in person. So come here after the 4th of July and learn from the best in the business. We also have Ricky Caruth coming to PCART at the end of July. So make sure you get your tickets, that will sell out. And of course, last but certainly not least, Build. Less than 2 weeks or about 2 weeks out, July 10th through 12th in San Antonio, Texas. Brent, anything you want to add on Build?
be there.
Be there, be square. All right. So what we have today is this is a real treat, guys. This guy, he is a legend in the industry. I met him over in Nashville. He has trained some of the top ISAs in the country. I think Robbie, you mentioned like 100,000 calls, set like 1,000 appointments. Like, you know what it takes to set an appointment with the league. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, yes, that is true. That is me.
Awesome, man. So let's go. Let's see what you got.
Awesome. All right, y'all. So Johnny, first off, appreciate the introduction. First off, want to make sure that you guys all do this. My name is Robbie T. I go by Robbie T because my last name is Trefethrin, which sounds like a pharmaceutical drug, and it comes with all the problems and none of the money. Anybody here watch the show The Bear by chance on Hulu? Anybody? Y'all got to check it out. Anyone ever watch Shameless? Shameless or The Bear? Anyone ever watch either of those shows?
We got one person over here.
All right. Well, I got one fan in here. Thank you. Anyways, long story short, there's a lot of inner city trauma, and that is my family growing up. If you Google my last name, you'll find interesting stories about my cousins or family members. Long story short, y'all, I kind of want to give you guys some background on me. I come from good old Fargo, North Dakota, and no, it's not frozen right now. We actually get hot as heck. We do have internet and all that fun stuff. But long story short, I started in this game as an ISA. Does anybody know what an ISA is in real estate? On this one. All right, cool, good. We're getting somewhere. I was an ISA. That's how I started in this game about a decade ago. And as Johnny had kind of said, I made 100,000 phone calls, spoke to 10,000 people, set about 1,000 appointments, and that led to about 500 closings for our real estate team in Fargo, North Dakota. But I want to start here today. I want to start off by telling you about my story and where I worked before I worked in real estate. And it was in the one thing that I think is less popular than sales: political campaigns. I was the guy working what's known as field. Field is the guy, I was the person knocking on your door, calling you saying, hey, who do you vote for? Who are you planning on voting for? And what's really unique is when I got into that game, when I got into the political game, I went and studied like political science, all that fun stuff. What was interesting? Oh, Minot, North Dakota. Good to see you guys. Why not Minot? That's funny. Saw that in the chat there. Anyways, when I was working political campaigns, I was given a script book. Sound familiar, right? As just like when we get into real estate, I was given a script book and I was told, hey, go out to these people's doorsteps, try to identify who they plan on voting for, and tell them these 3 reasons why they should vote for my candidate. And y'all, I just want you to guess, how do you think I was treated on those doorsteps?
Oh, well.
Not well.
I was either loved or hated. You think of any cuss word, threats, any offensive term you can think of, I was called it when knocking those doors. And about 2 weeks in, I was like, man, this really just doesn't work. And y'all, I'm not the smartest person, but I know that when something doesn't work, I got to pivot and try something else. So here's what I did. I took their strategy of me trying to sell them on our candidates and I threw it out the window. And this is the first thing I want you to write down is I simply implemented something I heard Tony Robbins say, which is if you want to influence someone, you need to find out what's already influencing them. After about 2 weeks of working political campaigns, knocking those doors, making those phone calls, I threw the playbook out the window. And what I started doing is I went up to people's doorsteps and I said, Susan, what matters to you this election? Luann, what are the things that you care about this election? I started people asking these questions and something interesting happened. Instead of getting the door slammed in my face or getting guns pointed at me or getting called really, really offensive names, guess what happened? People wouldn't shut the hell up. They would just talk and talk and talk. And what's really interesting is I took that same approach. I took that same mindset, and it's what I want to make sure I teach to you all today. Obviously, we're going to make sure that you understand the real estate dialect behind it. But I took that same approach that our jobs, when we're talking to our clients, our friends, our families, or leads. By the way, I hate the term leads because what is a lead? It's a person.
Yeah.
It's a human with needs, wants, desires, emotions, fears, right? Thoughts. And what I realized was in these conversations, when I'm talking to somebody who is a voter, or whether I'm talking to somebody looking to buy a home, a lead, friend, or family member, I realized that my North Star had to change. And here's what it changed to. I really realized that people didn't want to be sold. Anyone here want to be sold?
No.
Think about this, y'all, for a second. Okay, I'm going to digress. By the way, anyone in here have ADHD? Anyone? Come on, raise those hands. We're out there, 20% of us. All right, so I'm a special type of ADHD. I'm ADHD AF. Okay, it's like the special ones. Okay, so just you got to bounce around with me sometimes. Okay. Anyway, so when I was having these conversations with folks, when I would have these conversations, what I realized was people get afraid, and that people didn't want to be sold. So imagine you go to a car dealership, right? When you see that car salesperson walking up to you and they ask, hey, what brought you out today? Is that what they always ask? Always, right? What's the thing that we all say? Just looking, right? Is that truthful?
Kinda.
Rarely. Rarely. You could be walking in and you're like, I'm buying that white car. I'm going to do it. And that salesperson walks up to you and you're like, just looking. Imagine a furniture store, same thing. You're like, I'm buying that bedroom set. They walk up to you. Oh, we're just checking things out. We're just taking a look. Why do we do that, y'all? Why? You do it. I do it. Everybody does it. Why? Nobody answers this question. Why do people do this? It's very simple.
What else we got?
Very simple. Write this down. They're afraid of you selling them something that they don't want. They're nervous. They're afraid of buyer's remorse. They're afraid that you're going to push them to do something that they don't want. And y'all, what happens when they're afraid?
Shut down.
Resistance rises, yeah? Fear rises, therefore resistance rises. Now, here's what's really, really funny about this. That's normal. If you guys do it when you walk into a car dealership, it is normal for leads to do it in our conversations. But then something really, really stupid happened, and it caused us to forget that this is normal. And that really, really stupid thing was the market reaction post-COVID, right? It's something that I call basically May 2020 through May 2022. I want you to write down this term. Some people called it a momentum market. I called it a simple term, a fake market. Here's why I called it fake. Two big things. One, first off, we need to recognize that COVID massively changed people's mindset about buying or owning a home. Ryan Serhant says it best. COVID in and of itself was a billboard to own or upgrade your own home. Can we all agree on that?
Mm-hmm.
because we were afraid of shutdowns, lockdowns. I know some of y'all are down in California where you were locked down for longer. And what happened was people were like, oh my goodness, if this ever happens again, because it's in our recent memory. And by the way, are you ever going to forget what your life was like during that shutdown? You'll never forget it. In your minds, there's three things. If I said do you remember these three key events? And these three things are COVID shutdowns and all of that, 9/11, and the crash of 2007, 2008. Every single time. Those are the three things. So it sticks, and it sticks in your mind because it was so novel and so different. We had never gone through it before, and it was such a shift. It was such a change from what we went through. But what we need to realize is it changed the psychology of how people thought about a home. People were, right after COVID, they were exponentially more willing to spend money to upgrade and own their own home. Why? Because it was your classroom. It was your vacation destination. It was your office, your movie theater. It was everything. So that's the first piece of why the market became fake. The second thing, though, which is probably the bigger reason why I call it the fake market, was these interesting things called federal stimulus. You see what happened, of course, because the Fed and government officials were deathly afraid of the economy crashing because we essentially shut down the world economy, was they slashed rates to what? Essentially zero. They also pumped, my favorite example or favorite wording of this was they did a financial bazooka. You get money. They're pulling Oprah, weren't they? You get money. You get money. Everybody gets money. You get money. Federal stimulus, PPP money. There was money everywhere. And y'all, what happens when people get money in their hands and they have extra money in their hands? What do they do with it? Spend it, including on really stupid things like NFTs, cryptocurrencies that no one's ever heard of that spike up overnight and then die off. We were in a bubble, y'all. We were in this fake little bubble. Then starting April, May of 2022, what happened?
Interest rate.
Interest rates were raised. And some people were like, darn it, Fed, why would you do that? Well, it's pretty simple why. We were seeing inflation near double digits. And y'all, let's just be real. We all like a little bit of inflation. But when inflation hits double digits, when you go to the grocery store and a year later you're buying 10% less or more, man, that really sucks. So what the Fed did was they started pulling money out of the system, very, very simply. And it's got us back down and grounded to what I would call a normal market. Here's why this matters, though. In that fake market, here's what happened. Objections and resistance disappeared. For essentially 2 years, how many objections did you have to deal with? People are like, their objection was like, do I spend 10% over or 20%? Y'all, that ain't an objection. There was no, I'm just looking for fun. It was, I want to buy a house yesterday. Objections disappeared. And the analogy that I've been using is two of them. Number one is we were playing basketball on that little Tykes hoop. Anybody got like some 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds? You know the hype? Little hoop I'm talking about? We were playing basketball on that thing and we thought we were MJ. Nope. The other analogy I'm using or use is we all thought we were really great at fishing. Okay, I grew up in the land of 10,000 lakes. I was born in Minnesota. And so I use fishing analogies. Hopefully y'all can relate. Anyways, we thought we were good at fishing. When in reality, we weren't even fishing. The fish were jumping out of the water into our boats. What happened, y'all, is we completely lost the skills and the mindset that objections, resistance is the normal. It's actually healthier. What's really funny is when the market was getting really, really crazy, 2020 through 2022, and I got afraid. Because I knew the music was going to stop at some point. And I knew that a lot of my friends were going to get hurt. Because a lot of people's disciplines and their habits and their self-investment, their lead generation, all of it went out the window. Now, here's what's probably true is that if you're here today, you're one of the very few that actually made it. Right? There's two types of people in real estate right now. This is statistical fact. I want you to write this down. The top 60% of homes in the United States were sold by 19,000 real estate agents. In other words, the top 1.2% of all homes sold in the United States are sold by 1.2% of people. 60% of homes sold by 1.2% of people. Well, let's inverse that number. That means 99% of agents sell 40% of homes. Technically 98.8 if you want to be specific. If you run the numbers, y'all, like I do, I'm a math nerd. That means that the top 1% averages 252 homes sold per year. Sound about right? Those are the teams, the highly leveraged individuals selling a ton of homes. And then the bottom 99%, they sell 2 homes per year. What's really interesting is we're not seeing massive amounts of people quitting real estate, but what we are seeing is that this game is becoming more and more and more consolidated. What that simply means is that less people are selling more. And here's what I get to do. I get to spend my time with those people that are selling 250 homes, the people that we get to coach and train traditionally our team selling 3, 4, 5,000, 2,000 homes per year. And y'all, there's some simple things that they're doing that you all need to be doing and you need to take a page out of the book. Number one, they're practicing, y'all. They're investing in themselves 45 minutes per day, 3+ days per week. Some people call it role play. Some people call it growth time. It doesn't really matter. They're practicing. They're having conversations. They're attending things like this to expose their mind to new ideas. They're reading books. They're doing book studies. I don't care what it is, but they're growing and getting better. Here's the funny thing. Where are my Californian friends at? Where are y'all at? Here we go. All right, where are my Lakers fans at?
Boo.
Okay. All right. I like to boo the Lakers as well because the fact that they're called the Lakers, isn't it the dumbest thing ever? How many lakes are in LA? Zero. We'll call it 0, right? Why are they called the Lakers? Does anybody know?
Minnesota.
Because they bought the team from Minneapolis. Are there lakes in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Over, I think, 11,000 of them, but that's not as marketable as 10,000. My point, they keep like finding new ones, by the way, just like randomly creates one. But anyways, here's why I want to bring up the Lakers. Whether you like it or not, one of the best players of all time is Kobe Bryant. We all agree on that?
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant. And here's what's funny. Whether it's Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, it does not matter. What's so interesting about the greats is they don't stop practicing the basics. Yet what I see happen is we have this addiction in real estate where we think we made it and we quit role playing, we quit practicing. And y'all, if you're not growing, you're dying. If you're not practicing those skills, they disappear. And y'all, what do you think happened between May 2020 and May 2022? Our heads were all the size of those fat heads. You know, those things that kids can put on their wall. Our heads got that big. We thought we were good. And y'all, we sucked. The quality of service that I saw happen in this industry plummeted. The skills of the real estate individuals plummeted. We were running really fast, don't get me wrong. We were working really, really hard, but we weren't skilled. And the people that I've seen shoot out of this shift like a cannon, it's the people that either woke up to this or never stopped, and they were practicing. Second thing they're doing, lead generating. 45 minutes per day they're lead generating. And here's what's really funny. Who they're lead generating to does not matter. I see people that make their money with pay-per-click leads. I see people who kill it with Zillow leads. I see people that don't buy any company leads and they only do radio or they only do sphere of influence. I don't care, but you have to find your niche. You have to find what you're good at, what's authentic to you. By the way, there's one book you should all go read. It's called The Unsold Mindset. Just came out not too long ago. I hate sales books, just to preface this. Hate them. Because they're usually all trash. Because there's almost never any psychology referenced. And sales is basically just psychology. What I love about the Unsold Mindset, it is rooted in science. Again, one more time, the Unsold Mindset. But what you need to do is you need to find your authentic voice. Find what you authentically like doing. For me, y'all, I was that loser. Joking aside, not that ISAs are losers. I was that nerd. I was that person who would call people who had no idea who I was. None. I call expireds, canceled, pay-per-click leads, Zillow leads. And my whole goal was to get people who hated me. Right? Do you want to talk to a random salesperson? We've already agreed to this. No. But what you need to do is you need to find your niche. You need to be making sure that you're doing something routinely and doing it over and over and over again. Those are the two simple things that the greats are doing to remain great. They are growing and generating in this game. That's it. It's not any more complicated. And when I go look at people that are struggling right now, almost always the first thing that I go and do is I go look at their calendar. And it's not enough just to have it in your calendar. I go look at their life and say, are you actually living it?
Come on.
So many of us have it blocked off in our calendar and you don't do it. Congruence and discipline is the separation between those that actually execute. I'm going to end on one more thing real quick before I switch to really more specific things about lead conversion. And it's simply this, is that complexity is the enemy of execution. And there's so many people that are overthinking these things. They don't know what to do. Pick up the phone and call a lead, ask questions, listen, do something. Almost always, you don't need to complicate your life anymore. You just need to simplify it. You probably don't need to go and do more. You need to go and do less and do those less things more often. I see this so often where many teams are distracted and you know how the game is in real estate. There's silver bullets and there's a billion different things you can spend your money on. The joke, just so you all know, in real estate is that if you want to make some decent money in real estate, sell homes. If you want to become really wealthy, sell something to real estate agents. Tell me I'm wrong. All right. Anyway, so to tie this back now, again, ADHDAF, I'm sorry. What it really comes down to is I want to talk about tying this back to when people are resistant. Resistance is normal. What you need to really understand is that people saying, I'm just curious, I'm just looking for fun, I'm afraid of the interest rates, I'm afraid of the market right now, that is what I would call a fear-based objection. Everybody should write that term down, fear-based objections. They're saying it because they're afraid of something. And that causes resistance to rise. Now, what's really interesting is that I see people handling fear-based objections and objections in 4 different types of ways. Number one, the first type of way I see people in this industry handling fear-based objections is you believe them. Someone says, I'm going to wait till the market crashes. I'm going to wait till we have a new president. I'm going to wait till interest rates come down. And you're like, all right, sounds great. I'll follow up then. You know what I call that? stupid. It's a terrible strategy because when you follow up when there's a new president, you know what they tell you? Well, we bought a house 6 months ago. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Second strategy, and again, these first three are all going to be strategies that you should stop doing. Strategy number 2 is you use 3 of my favorite words. Tell me more. But there's a problem with using tell me more when people are already afraid. Fear begets more fear. You see, when you ask somebody who says they want to wait for interest rates to go down or for the market to crash or for a new president, when you say, well, tell me about that, what happens is their mind starts literally thinking. Put yourself in their shoes. You start looking for mentally connecting the dots of what is the confirming information. And y'all, if you haven't heard of it yet, there's something called confirmation bias, which basically means logic doesn't matter when we're feeling things. What happens is when we're feeling something, we just want confirming information and we don't care about disconfirming information. So what happens is when you ask them, well, tell me why you think the market's going to crash, they think of the news media headlines that they've been seeing. By the way, anyone ever notice that the news media has no damn clue what's happening in real estate? Holy God. Goodness sakes. What happens, y'all, is we try asking for more information, and there's a great place to use tell me more. Fear-based objections is not it. Third strategy that I see you all doing, and there's going to be a lot of you, this is going to hit you right between the eyes. Third strategy is you try debating them. Uh-oh. This is my favorite example of this is somebody says, well, I don't want to buy right now because interest rates are just too high. And you're like, well, actually, did you know that interest rates are not that bad compared to the 1980s when they were 15, 16, 17%? There's a lot of you right now. I'm speaking right at you. I'm pointing my finger at you. The market sucks. Doesn't. You try telling them these things. There's a big problem with this. What you're trying to do is you're trying to speak logic when somebody is feeling an emotion. Anyone here in a committed, married relationship? Raise your hand, please. Mm-hmm. All right. How's it work when one is emotional and you try speaking logic? How's that go down?
Not good.
Yeah, it's called the couch. Okay. I'm number one offender, right? Repeat offender. What happens, y'all, when people are emotional is logic doesn't matter. They literally can't hear it. And another example is if you have a 3 or 4-year-old who's melting down, what happens if you just tell that 3 to 4-year-old to stop it? You're being irrational. It gets worse. Well, y'all, what you need to realize is your clients, your leads, or even yourselves, you're just big grown-up versions of your 3-year-old self. Brains operate the same way when we're afraid. When we're afraid, we can't think logically. Everyone should write this down. This is the most eye-opening statement you're going to hear all day. People can't think logically when they're emotionally unregulated. Holy shit, blow your minds. You can't do it. That's why counselors, what do you think they do? They allow you to get your stuff out. And what happens? You calm yourself. This is where so many people are going wrong right now when people have objections. Well, they're afraid, whether they're afraid of you, maybe they're afraid of the market, maybe they're afraid of something else, you don't know. That fear is predominant in their mind. So this third strategy, debating them, the way I've put it is you could put on a TED Talk of how they're wrong, but they will not hear any of it. Strategy number 4. It's the only strategy that I've ever seen that actually works. Strategy number 4. Write it down. It's called the pivot. So when people throw you a fear-based objection, you have to get really, really good at this. Underneath the pivot, I want you to write down A and B. Part A is you acknowledge their answer. Acknowledge does not mean to affirm it, does not mean that you agree with it. It just means you acknowledge that somebody said something. Because if you fail to acknowledge what they say, they don't feel heard. When people don't feel heard, they don't feel like they can trust you. They feel like you're ignoring them, and then their fear actually goes up. And again, what do we have to do here? We have to help regulate people. I know it's crazy. We got to regulate adults. Welcome to leadership, y'all. Anyways, we got to regulate people. And the way we do that is we have to make them feel safe. The way we do this is when they have a fear-based reaction, we have to acknowledge what they say. Something simply like, Brent, I really appreciate you sharing that with me. Got it, Brent. I hear you. Hear you, Brent. That perspective, or I hear your perspective. You just had to acknowledge that they said something. Because if you fail to do that, Brent doesn't feel heard. Stephanie doesn't feel heard. Luann doesn't feel heard. You have to acknowledge they said something. Second part, underneath B, is you ask a motivation theme question. So it simply sounds like this. Brent tells me he's going to wait till interest rates go down to 5%. Let's just hypothetically say that's what he says. Got it, Brent. Appreciate you sharing that with me. Help me understand this, though. What was kind of the first place? Or what was causing you to look at real estate to begin with?
Can you repeat that? You cut out. You cut out at the...
Oh, yeah. No worries. Sorry about that. So got it, Brent. I hear you. Help me understand what was causing you to look at real estate to begin with. Or what had you interested in real estate to begin with? Or why were you thinking about making a move to begin with? Literally just ask a motivation theme question. And then write down a C here. So A, acknowledge. B, motivation question. C, repeat. Here's what happens. What we need to understand, and what I've learned from studying psychology and looking at things, is our minds, it's like a flashlight, okay? So imagine you have a piece of paper. What you're doing is you're shining a flashlight through your questions in their brain on different pieces of information. And what happens is the flashlight, because they're afraid of you, they're afraid of the market, their flashlights on their fear of you in the market. When you acknowledge their answer, they don't want to push back, they don't want to fight back, they don't feel like they have to do that. And when you ask the question of what had you looking at real estate to begin with, that flashlight moves a little. And then when you ask again, it moves again. And y'all, what happens when you do this is the flashlight moves from the fear of you or the market to the fear or the pain or the emotion of their current situation. Things like we're running out of space. Things like babies are on the way. Things like we're going to have to move for my job. Things like we're going through a divorce. And what happens, y'all, the more they talk about those things, is emotions regarding that subject in that spotlight, that bubbles up. And y'all, if you're feeling pain or frustration about where you currently are or your desire to move, what does that cause you to want to do? Take action. You see, logic makes us think, but emotion makes us act. And this is all I realize is so many people in this game were having the wrong conversations when people were giving objections. We thought it was all about handling the objections. No, it's not. It's about distracting them from the silliness of the objection to begin with. It is no different than your 4-year-old melting down about not getting a toy in Target. Great parents, what they do is they distract their kid onto something else. That's how you regulate people. And then when you regulate them, what happens is they start talking about the fear or their pain point. And y'all, human beings are always either running from something or running towards something. Always. or maybe a little bit of combination of both. And what I found is that when I started to ask some questions about that, that's where I started using Tell Me More. When they say, well, we're just running out of space. Okay, got it. Well, tell me about that, Brent. What do you mean by that? And I want you to write down this term. This literally comes from the unsold mindset. What's so key here is you have to be intentionally ignorant. You got to play stupid. What that means is when somebody says they want a bigger home, you ask extremely open-ended questions, almost like a 3-year-old. Just a little more tactfully. Well, tell me about that. When you're saying you want a bigger home, what do you mean by that? Then they're like, well, we're expecting twins in about 6 months. We're wanting to move. And they start telling you all this information. Or they'll say things, well, our family's growing. Anyone ever heard that before? Something like our family's growing? Here's what's funny. What does our family is growing mean?
Running out of room.
Down. You have no damn clue. You see what happens? This is the one of the biggest sins in lead conversion is we accidentally make assumptions. Don't get me wrong. Most of the time, 80% of the time, you're probably right. That when they say, well, our family is growing, it probably means a baby's on the way. But what we need to realize is if somebody says a baby's on the way in your mind, you then respond to them saying their family is growing with, oh, congratulations. Or when's baby due or something like that. And y'all, I did that once. I did it. I probably did it more times, but I remember this one time I did it and I'll never do it again. Somebody said to me, well, our family's growing. That's why we got to make a move. And I said, oh, congratulations. When's baby due? And the response was, my father-in-law just passed away and my mother-in-law is moving in. I was that asshole who congratulated somebody on their father-in-law passing away. Y'all, I got burnt hard. Please learn from my lesson so you don't have to do this. What I realized was if you're intentionally ignorant, opportunities like that, they're opportunities for you to learn. They don't get messed up because what happens is you see clarity. So when somebody says, well, my family's on the grow, the safe thing to do is, well, tell me about that. When you're saying your family's on the grow, what does that mean? And y'all, when I started doing that, there's some crazy things I started to hear. I want you to write these down. These were literally all the top of the head things I heard people say when they told me their family was on the grow. 1, baby's on the way. Duh. 2, twins are on the way. 3, triplets are on the way. 4, litter of puppies are on the way. 5, we're getting a horse. 6, mother-in-law moving in. 7, I'm adopting my drug-addicted kid's sister, my dog-addicted sister's kids. You see my point here. What happens is they start providing context, and instead of operating off an assumption, I'm now operating off of better information. But that's not the only thing that matters. What matters is that through this process, every time I hear somebody, we're building more trust. And the reality is that if you ever reflect on the best salespeople you've ever worked with, they're never the person that's pushy, salesy, annoying. It's always a person that hears you incredibly well, who does speak truth to you, but they hear you. This leads me to my final piece I want to talk about today, and I'll open up for questions. I believe, first off, sales is essentially influence and leadership. Okay, influence and leadership. And I believe that leadership, there's 4 different types of leaders that I've seen. I want you guys to write down these 4 different types of leaders. And again, you could take this and be like 4 different types of salesperson plugs right in, because sales is influence and leadership. It's all the same crap. Number 1, the first type of leader is the ambivalent leader, the apathetic leader. This is the person that is not at all good of seeking out truth, and they will not speak truth back to you. Remember your first job, if you ever worked at like a fast food restaurant when you're 14 or 15, almost always your first managers were apathetic managers or leaders. Second type of leader is what I call the enabling leader. The enabling leader is somebody who's really, really good at hearing the needs, wants, and concerns of the people that they're leading. They're really good at this. But they're really bad at reflecting back uncomfortable truths. They avoid it. And what that leads to is accidentally enabling bad behavior, suboptimal results. The third is what I like to call the asshole. If you don't cuss like a sailor like me, I grew up in the back of a semi truck, so I try to filter myself out. But when everybody else was hanging out with like cousins and friends, I was hanging out with what were known in my terms as a lumper. A lumper was the daily ready people, and man, their language choices were a lot different. So when I was 7, I was working. Anyways, I digress. The a-hole, if you don't want to use my naughty language, the a-hole. The a-hole is really, really good at speaking truth. They're not at all afraid of speaking truth, talking an uncomfortable truth, but they're really, really bad at hearing people. They didn't take the time to hear somebody first. They have no clue what actually matters to somebody. All three of those are suboptimal. The first is the worst. I would argue that an enabler is probably worse than an a-hole, but you can decide. I think ideal leaders are really great at seeking out truth first. Seeking out truth. Finding out what matters to the people they are leading. And then the second thing you have to do is you also have to speak very uncomfortable truths sometimes. You have to be good at both. And it's why accountability is one of the highest forms of love. And I think hearing people is one of the highest forms of love. Both are true. And I think they have to go in that order. You have to hear people, then you can hold them accountable. You can't hold them accountable until you hear them. I've tried this before, y'all. Again, couch. Doesn't work well. In short, the high D version of this, fear-based objections. Stop tell me moreing it. Stop trying to give a TED talk on why they're wrong. Pivot and get them talking about their needs, wants, and desires. Make them feel safe and give them that space. Avoid making assumptions by being intentionally ignorant. Ask clarifying questions, reflect those things back. Utilize Stephen Covey's habit of seeking first to understand, then to be understood. Rephrase and reflect back. Speak truth back to people after you've done this. Let them know that waiting is probably a really, really bad idea. Right? Can we all agree on that? Here's one of my favorite misconceptions about real estate. I'm going to wait till rates go down to 5.5%. And you know what I say after I listen to Brent and what he's hoping to do? I say, Brent, can I be a truth teller with you? And Brent says yes. And I say, Brent, how many people are thinking that exact same thought that you just did? I think it's a lot. And you know what I think is going to happen if rates go down? Statistically, is demand goes through the roof. And what happens if demand goes through the roof? What you pay for your house goes through the roof. Really, if you were to buy a house right now, you could always refinance it if you wanted to and get that lower rate. If I do that without hearing them first, none of it matters. If I hear him first and I ask for permission to be a truth teller, this really, really crazy thing happens is anything that comes out of my mouth is no longer just Robbie saying it to Brent. It is our collaborative idea because I'm asking it as a question instead of telling him. I'm helping himself discover that what he's thinking is silly. And almost always, that's just what we need to do. Y'all, none of this is like rocket science. These are really simple principles that you just need to go and do. Treat people well, sell yourself on them, and this crazy things happen is your conversations change from not getting enough information to getting too much information sometimes. Your talk time and your business problems go from I don't have enough business to I have too much business. How do I scale my business? That's what Eric and I get to do every single day. That's what I do now is I coach and train ISAs. And now I coach and train top producers that are selling hundreds of homes per year. And what it really comes down to is the people I know that are playing this game at the highest level, this is what they're doing. And then you scale through hiring other great people, you treat them this, and then repeat. My kid's knocking on the door. Oh, okay. I'll be there in a minute. Thank you. Summertime, y'all. All right, y'all. That's all I got. What questions do you guys have for me today?
Well, before we run, come on, round of applause, guys.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. It's very kind of you.
So good. I know.
I want to say something.
Yeah, Brent, what do you got?
Since
Sure.
I'm a guy who wouldn't buy a house and the interest rates, thanks a lot, but that was outstanding. I mean, I can that's 10,000 hours of mastery. That's going through the meat grinder. That is impressive. I personally will watch this 2 or 3 times. It was that good. And everybody watching online, there's 27 and everyone here, you should get your agents who work here and go, let's have a party and have popcorn and pizza, and you need to watch this again and again and again. And I also love the part where you said, Google my last name. Well, it's just T. We don't actually know. But that was pretty funny. Robbie T, you know? Like,
Yeah.
oh, my. But dude, that was awesome. Big thumbs up. Thank you for sharing. Very good.
Thank you so much. That's an honor. Appreciate that. Thank you. If you all have any other questions, feel free to add me on Facebook, by the way.
What's your last
Please search Robbie T. You should find me. It should just be Robbie T. If you search for Robert Trefethrin, that is my dad, and my dad's a truck driver, like I said. So unless you want driving lessons, please make sure you're messaging the right nerd in the glasses. The other way you can reach out to me is just find me on Instagram, RealRobbyt. So Real Robbie T. Thank you for the kind words, though, y'all. I really appreciate it. That's super.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, y'all. I'm gonna go run with these kids. They're all trying summertime with us, and I'm gonna go make sure they don't knock my door down. So much love, y'all. Would love to come back and just ask me when.
All right. Thanks, Robbie.
Thanks, y'all. See ya. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Pretty fantastic stuff, right?
That was great.
I know we're getting short on time, but we're just getting started. Brent, what was it you wanted to share today?
All right. Oh, come on. Thank you. Give him a hand.
Yeah, good.
So first of all, great to see everyone. Happy 4th of July. Like the little decorations here. This is awesome. For everyone, grab a flag. For everybody online, are they gone?
No, they're here. We're just not coming.
They're here. I'll get out of the way. Right there. Is it there? There you go. Wave your flags, because I am the Mr. 4th of July. I love the 4th of July. So we salute you guys. And okay, that's enough of that. We're a little crazy here at the office. Dan, how are you, man? Good to see you. So I love the 4th of July because it's about freedom. And it's about independence. And it's about liberty. And it's about escaping tyranny and taxes, and about, just the freedom to go and do, and the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, the really what it means is like that. Right now, we are so numb to all of that. I'm just trying to pay the bill, trying to pay my phone bill. I tipped the waitress $200 for a meal. I think our meal was 180 and I tipped her 200. She cried in my arms. She goes, "Can I hug you?" She bawled. She goes, "I haven't been able to pay my phone bill for 2 months." And so I'm like, well, I can't do that. I used to tip 20 when I didn't have it, and then 40. Always, make a difference in people's lives. And I love what he said. They're not leads. They're people. They're human souls worth loving. Man, don't you want to be treated as valuable, right? As a human soul, and you connect to them authentically? That was so rich and good. You know why? Because he put himself through the meat grinder. And I'm going to tell you right now, take off my sandals because it's going to get wild. So here's the deal. I'm just straight up. Everybody I know who's made it at a high level was willing to fail radically, was willing to put themselves through the meat grinder and go, I'm not getting results with calling the expireds. I'm doing pay-per-click or whatever. It's not working for me. I tried the radio and failed. I tried it again and failed, but I tried it a third time and succeeded. I have failed 100 times more than I've succeeded. But because I was willing to fail 100 times, maybe 1,000 times, and you lean into the resistance, and that's what builds muscles and character and internal fortitude. So about 3 weeks ago, I was in South Carolina, and there's back on the East Coast, like Charleston and Nantucket and these different places, Washington, D.C., where George Washington crossed the Delaware, right? There's like a lot of history where people fought for the independence of the United States from England, to have freedom, for the right to pursue liberty, to build your own fortune. People traveled for months on a ship. A lot of them died just to have a chance. And we live right here. And you're like, well, the interest rates are kind of tough. Oh my gosh. Man, I was talking to Gogo the other day. She came from an ex-communist country where there was literally no opportunity. And she came here not speaking our language and had to, go to China and learn their language. Go to the Ukraine and learn their language and try to convince Ukrainians to do business with you. It's amazing what she did. And she's so excited because she seized the opportunity. Right. And there's this saying, like, how do you boil a frog? Well, you don't put it in a pan of boiling water. It'll jump right out. It's like, whoa. But if you put it in a pan and slowly turn up the heat, you will boil that frog alive. And in America, in the United States, we are getting boiled alive because they're just turning it up, and it's just picking up. And so I guess today, as I wrap up today's team meeting, I want you to realize, in the spirit of the 4th of July, one of my favorite, besides Christmas and Easter. Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter. I love those things. Halloween, not a fan. But anyway, but here's the deal. You got to realize one thing. And if you don't realize this, you're going to miss out. You are in a war for your family. You better kind of treat it like that. You better kind of, Tony Robbins, the foremost guy, he's like, step up. Step up. And so, like, well, I'm trying. That's no. Your hunger is your greatest asset. And go to Bill. I know about Bill. You know what? I went to Haas Pratt. Who's he? An amazing guy. And it changed my life. I went to NAE. What's that? An amazing seminar event. It changed my life. I went to Star Power with Howard Brent, which is now defunct. The guy passed away. It's gone, but it was like the leading thing. I went to Brian Buffini. I've been to Joe Stump. I've been to Mega Camp. I've gone to so many things, and it's all life-changing. But sort of like, yeah, but I'm not going to go to Build because, it's probably not good. And you know what? You're absolutely right. I think you're wasting your time. I think you should go to Build. When I go to NAREP or the Women's Council of Realtors, or man, I'm there on the edge of my seat. I'm ready to rock and roll. And I want to commend. I could commend a lot of you, but I noticed two in particular. Barry Mathis back there taking notes like a madman on his square. What do you call that? Tablet. On his tablet. I call this squiggly thing the squiggly thing. It's called a QR code. I have my own language.
It had a yellow pad in it, so
yeah. Thank you. A tablet that looks like a yellow pad. I love it. But he's been taking notes nonstop. Clark Broom, we asked him who the speaker was. And because we were like, who is this guy? He's too good. And he was going, shh.
do pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of notes. Don Peach, same thing in the back. Please, dear God, I have said it again and again and again. Do not come to the team meeting and just watch, because you're freaking gonna forget. Like, this is a war, it's a freaking battle. I got all those notes there. What do you think I remember the thing about these? They're not these, are people. I can teach his talk now, and I will replay that again. Well, you're kind of radical. Yes! Let me read you a couple things, in case you forgot. Just take a breath, everybody. So this is, it says, we must recall the basic principle of liberty is freedom of choice, which many having on their lips and on their minds have forgotten. That was by a guy named Dante. Yeah. This is, by the way, those are my feet. And I took a picture of the ground. This is the first Liberty building in Greenville, South Carolina. And all on these pavers are these quotes. Here's another one. Just want you to hear this. 4th of July. For those willing to give up a little liberty for a little security, deserve neither security nor liberty.
Amen.
Benjamin freaking Franklin.
Amen.
I'm shaking reading this up. I walked around for 30 minutes taking pictures of all these quotes because I think we forget. Here's another one. The cost of liberty is less than the price of oppression.
Yeah.
Listen to me. You're being oppressed right now. And I need you to rise up and freaking fight. And you're not going to grab a gun. You're going to shoot and stab with the spear on the end of your gun, which is what they did back then. You're not going to deal with cannon fodder or having your leg blown off. But you got to like man up. You got to woman up. If you go to build and go, this is going to change my life, it will. And if you go to build, go, nothing's going to change, you're right, nothing will change. It's you. It's you coming to these sales meetings and taking notes. It's you going to PCAR and taking notes. It's you going to the Women's Council of Realtors or NAREP or ARIA or Tom Ferry or Mike Ferry and taking notes. I'm begging you the rest of your life. I've said it so many times, but I see half the room not taking notes. I love you, but I'm begging you, you might have thought I was texting. I was taking notes in the back of the room. Yeah. There's this other guy right here. It says, you should never wear your best trousers when you go out to fight for freedom and liberty. It's going to get dirty. Yeah. That was Henrik Ibsen. I don't know, but they wrote it down because they liked this book. This other guy, you've never heard of this guy. The cause of civil liberty must not be surrendered at the end of 1 or even 100 defeats. Abraham Lincoln. I mean, just reading these guys, they understood it. Here's one. A country cannot subsist well without liberty, nor liberty without virtues. Stand up for what's right. All it takes is for evil to prevail in this world. It's for good men and good women to do nothing. Amen. Don't be silent. Stand up for the right thing. And so I got a couple left. Here's one. Never heard of this guy. It's one sentence. The basis of all democratic state is liberty. Freedom. Are you free? Are you living to die or dying to live? When it's like Braveheart, freedom. Remember that? Mel Gibson? Yeah. Well, you're just kind of taking this to extremes. Oh, fine. Then keep getting cooked in the squat. Keep living a life of quiet desperation. I am telling you the truth. He was telling you the truth. He went door to door talking politics. You get shot. I'm surprised he didn't get shot. I mean, that's gutsy though. And then he learned through his failures, like, let's change it. So what would you like to see change? And just let him talk. And then he listened and he heard. And then you wonder why he understands the values of a great leader. Do you really listen? Do you seek first to understand? Or you just want to, here's how it is. Are you hearing their heart? It was so good. Here's one. Thomas Jefferson. I would rather be exposed to the inconveniences of attending to too much liberty than those of attending a small degree of it. Thomas and Jefferson. Here's another one. We'll end with this. I love this. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty. JFK, John F. Kennedy. Even JFK in the Bay of Pigs back in the 60s with Cuba and Russia trying to put missiles right off our coast of Florida there in Cuba. I mean, it's just right there, man. They float over on inner tubes. And they stood up for freedom and liberty for the greatest nation on earth. Our nation is messed up, yep, but it's the greatest nation on earth. I just traveled the world for 8 weeks. And there's some nice, beautiful places, but man, there's nothing like this country. I'm not talking about for our luxuries. I'm talking about for our freedoms. And people will put you down, but man, let me tell you what, this is the longest surviving democracy in the history of the world. And do your part. Step up for your freedom. So here's the deal. Let me ask you a question. Think of your favorite car. For me, I'm going to buy a cabin here this next year up in Incline Village because I need to escape California for other tax reasons and legal reasons. So I picked Incline Village. You know, I personally rather live in Truckee. I'm going to live in Incline Village because I have a Nevada address, and I'm going to put a GMC Yukon in the garage just when I'm there. And it's just kind of like the family 4-wheel drive, snow, summer, fun. That's my kind of a car. I'm a big guy, like a big car, right? But how about you? What is your little dream car? Think of it. Is it a motorcycle? Think of the car right now. You got it in your mind? What if I said, I have one of those sitting right out here. It's a year and a half old. It's in mint condition. It looks like it just drove off the showroom floor. And you can have it, but you need to go get $1,600 and give it to me by 5 o'clock today. And I'm going to hand you the keys and you'll own it outright. How many of you could do that, right?
Yeah.
You do that for a car you like. How many of you had cars of your life? Was it life-changing? Oh, it's nice, it's fun, it's great. Did you know that build 31 speakers, 3 days? You need a shot in the arm more than you ever realized it. And interest rates may shoot up in the next month or two. It's going to be a meat grinder. And you could go into it with nothing, or you could get the shot in the arm and the multivitamins and the strength and the internal fortitude and fiber you need. Every single one of you should be there, but you're not going because it's $1,600. Flight's $500 right now because you waited. It's $500. The rooms, if you share a room with someone, we'll round up, call it $200 a night. That's $400. That's $900. And a ticket is $697. Let's just call it $700. Add that to the $900. It's $1,600. Now y'all are like, yeah, I'd go fine. I'd go, rob a 7-Eleven by 5 and get the $1,600 or whatever. I'd have it done, but I'm not going to go to build. I'm too busy. I don't have time. That's like saying, I'm not stopping for gas. I'm going to keep driving, and we will find you on the side of the road out of gas. You need to review your tank. David McCoy told me 15 years ago, been doing this 27 years. Why do you keep going to events? I go every 3 or 4 months. Always have. I go to TEDx. I go to Grant Cardone. I go to Pete. I go to Create Conference with Ken Jocelyn. I go to all the EXP stuff. I might do, well, that's kind of extreme. We're able to give away millions of dollars today. And I've always, you know what I mean? Because I was willing to lean into it. Do you feel resistance right now? Lean into it. So I'll end with this. Come to build and get there early and take notes and sit on the edge of your seat. And if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you're probably right. A man or a woman's about as happy as they make up their mind to be. Henry Ford. So I don't need you to go to build. Stay home. You need you to go to build. You need to meet that person for breakfast in the morning that you just bumped into from Fargo. You need to get in at the gym and bump into somebody else who's selling 100 homes a year at $1 million house, and you become friends. You don't know Leonard Fazia from Iowa, but I do. Dad and I. Dad, do you remember going to lunch? You and me. He spoke on the stage. We're all like, 1,200 people in the audience. And I go up to Leonard after everyone left. I go, hey, what are you doing for lunch? He goes, I don't know. I don't have any plans. Can my dad and I take you to lunch? Yeah, and he talked for 30 minutes on the stage and wowed us. We spent an hour with him at lunch. Don't go to build and have lunch alone. Go with somebody. Hey, can I join you guys? Or you want to join us? And then ask the speakers, can I have breakfast with you tomorrow morning? You'd be surprised. They're like, yeah. Or they're going to say this, which is what I'll say to you. I already have a breakfast schedule because I'm already booked out. Even now, I'm booked out. I've thought about breakfast. I've thought about lunch. I've thought about dinner. I've thought about pride. It's all booked out. Because I'm really intense about it. I'm super intentional and purposeful. And you need to be that way too. So here's the deal. But if you're smart, you'll do this. This is what I'd say. Oh, I can't do that. I have a breakfast. I go, oh, any chance I can meet you maybe 30 minutes before, just a simple cup of coffee? You're going to get a yes. Oh, we're going to go with Coldwell Banker. Have you signed the listing contract yet? Well, no, not yet. They're coming over tomorrow to do that. Really? And then you go into why you would like to just talk to them for 10 minutes. Everything's quick. Everything's easy. Was this helpful at all?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to challenge your thinking. I want to get a little crazy. It's the 4th of July. And I want to talk about freedom, liberty, and justice for all, equality, and what we have in this country. Don't take it for granted. You're in a war. Fight the battle. And John Jennings, I love you. You do, and Valerie, you guys are just amazing leaders. Thank you for doing what you do. And of course, everybody online watching, you guys are rock stars. Welcome our friends in Arizona. There's no reason why Clark's business is exploding because he's a student. Oh, if you watch him at peak or watch him. He's taking notes like crazy. You want to grow? Take notes, implement. Love you guys. Well, have a great 4th of July.